Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Swartz Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Thanks so much, everybody. By the way, real quick, hey, we're kind of mini celebrities. We made it into the New Brunswick Magazine, North Brunswick Magazine. Great article on the show. Not so much me, but everybody behind the scenes on Tony, Benny, Al. So great article. If you're in the area, you haven't checked it out, pick it up, take a look at it. Page 49. Well, you got a great show tonight. We had a little spirited pre-show. Hopefully we can bring that to the viewers tonight. So thanks, everyone, for jumping on. Right, without ado, let's go to my co-host, former Florida A&M Rattler, national championship quarterback, and voice of the Rattlers basketball and football broadcast with Melvin Beal on radio, Al the Rattler Chester, my man from Jacksonville.
What's going on, Les? My man, my brother from another mother. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Al. I kind of fumbled my words there, what I would do on a football field, take the ball and fumble with it. But listen, before we bring up, we got a special guest tonight. It's going to be a great show, especially if you're a fan of basketball and the NBA. But before we run the opening reel, Al, we're going to do something a little different. So my producer, Tony, is going to bring this up, and let's take a look at it. Here we go. We got the press release up for the Bob Hayes Track and Field Hall of Fame, and look who we got. We got our man. We are so proud of number one in your hearts, number two in your program, Al Chester, being nominated and in the Bob Hayes Track and Field Hall of Fame, along with a guest, Garrett Scantling, who I had a chance to text with today and congratulated Garrett. He wants to come on the show in January and talk about training. So, Al, sincerely, from everyone here at Swartz Talking Sports, well-deserved. Congratulations, my friend.
Man, I tell you what a welcome surprise it was. I got the call from Greg Coleman several weeks ago, and I had to ask him. I said, "You sure you got the right guy?" But happy to accept the honor. And all we ever try to do is represent ourselves the best we can and try to inspire others to do the same thing.
Well, you know something? I got a chance, like I said, to tell people to meet the great Al Chester, and you inspired me, my man. You're an amazing guy, an amazing friend, and we are so glad you're part of the show. But let's get to tonight's opening reel because I can't wait to talk to our guest tonight. I'm really pumped. Everyone's going to love it. So let's have Tony run tonight's opening reel. Swartz Talking Sports is so proud to bring on tonight's special guest and introduce eight-time NBA All-Star, Hall of Famer, 1983 NBA scoring champion, and one of the smoothest forwards to ever play in the NBA, Mr. Alex English. Alex, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Alex, look at you, man. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good evening. How you guys doing? Sounds like
that's what we do on this show, Alex. You can take that to the bank. Man, I tell you what, again, I like to just echo what Les has already said, man. We're so happy that you take the time to give us some love. You're a legend, man, and all we try to do is promote some of the best that ever did it. And obviously, you fit that mold, man. And thank you again for taking the time to come out and show us some love.
Well, thank you all for the invite. It's good to be here.
Well, let's get it started.
You do it, Al.
Alex, where did it all start for you, man? I mean, where'd you grow up? When did you start playing basketball? Did you play any other sports? Kind of walk us through a little quick timeline of your early days. I mean, we know you're a legend, man, but kind of help us a little bit. I mean, big, tall guy growing up. I mean, when did you realize that you was that guy on the basketball court? Just kind of help us with that.
Well, I started in Columbia, South Carolina, which is my. Well, like I said, I started in Columbia, South Carolina, which is my hometown. I grew up in a household with 13 other kids, and I learned to play in the backyard on a piece of plywood and a bicycle rim basketball goal. So it was not easy, but once I started playing the game, I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed playing other sports as well. I loved playing football. I pictured myself as being a wide receiver. And I did play for a minute. I played defensive end in my ninth grade year. And the first practice, they swept my end, and that was the end of me. I said, let me go back to the basketball court.
I was going to say, Charles Barkley said the same thing. He strapped on the pads once, got hit once, and said, yep, I'm going to stick to basketball.
Well, Alex, tell us about your basketball career in high school, and then who recruited you, and how'd you end up at South Carolina?
I played at Drew High School in Columbia. Played for my freshman year. I played varsity, played for 4 years, and got recruited by the University of South Carolina. The legendary coach Frank McGuire, who's someone who I admired greatly, and decided to go to school there. It was my hometown, and that was back during the 70s. So it was a difficult period for African American athletes, and I thought, hey, I'm going to go anyway, and maybe some other people will follow, and they did.
Well, Alex, after a tremendous career as a Gamecock, All-American, you get drafted into the NBA. Now, we talked briefly. You actually had your rights as a sophomore. The Indiana Pacers selected you in the ABA draft. Did you ever give it serious consideration to jumping to the ABA?
I had a difficult time hearing the first part of your question, but I think I got the gist of it. I did consider my junior year going. I got drafted in the ABA by the Indiana Pacers, and but I love college. I wanted to stay home, and I wanted to finish my college career there at South Carolina, and I did that. And I got drafted in the second round by the Milwaukee Bucks, 1976. So it was my first year.
Okay. Now, you played with the Bucks for, 2 years, and then you were ultimately traded to Denver, and that's really, I believe, where your career really took off with the Denver Nuggets. Talk to us about going to Milwaukee. Was Don Nelson the coach there, or Larry Costello? It might have been Don Nelson. I'm not sure.
Well, I went to Milwaukee, and the coach at that time was Don Nelson.
Yep.
And I played there for 2 years. They didn't expect me to make the team. In fact, I have a story that Wayne Embry was calling me in to let me go. And on my way down to the arena, they decided to keep me. And that was the beginning of my career. After that episode, I felt relaxed in playing, and played my best basketball once I was comfortable.
Al, he was smooth, wasn't he?
Oh, I tell you what, like running water, man. I tell you what, I enjoyed watching him too. And I tell you what, he was a quiet assassin on the basketball court. And I tell you what, Alex, the object of the game was to put the ball in the hoop, and that's something this guy did all the time, early and often, and we all enjoyed it. Alex, let me ask you this: pushing back to college, what was your most memorable moment in college basketball? I know you had some great games, some standout games, but what comes to mind when I say your most memorable moment at South Carolina?
Well, that's been so long ago. I can't begin to tell you. I had a lot of quality games there. But I think what I took from South Carolina was that year that I joined the Gamecocks, they had left the ACC, and we were an independent. And during that period of time, the independents were probably the best schools, the best basketball teams in the country. The DePauls, the St. John's, Marquette. So I ended up playing against some of the best basketball talent. Niagara, St. Bonaventure. So my whole 4 years, I never played in the conference other than as an independent.
Wow, that's right. That was before South Carolina moved to
Which
the
I
SEC.
enjoyed a lot.
Yeah,
and when you asked me what did I get out of it the most, I think the thing I got from it the most was I got to travel a lot. Being from South Carolina and coming from the hood, I had never traveled before. And I get on the big stage, and I get to travel to all these different cities that I'd only read about.
Well, we've had some of the other great basketball and football players, and you and I kind of grew up around the same time. You're a little bit older than I am. Did you ever experience any dark times in terms of racism in South Carolina, towards you, against you, around you? Did you see it, feel it, touch it?
Well, believe it or not, believe it or not, the fans were pretty civil, and I didn't really experience any racism other than maybe a snide remark every now and then. But a snide remark doesn't faze me. Um, so my 4 years at South Carolina playing for Frank McGuire, he had kind of tamed the people in South Carolina and told them how important it was to have our athletes be able to African American athletes be able to come to the school and play basketball if you're comfortable. So after that, more African American players came. We had some of the best talent in the state to follow me. I followed Casey Manning, one of the great players from South Carolina, and he became a judge. So he and I were the first two African Americans on the team. And after that, the floodgates opened, and the next year we got 4 or 5 more.
Well, we've got some questions right now.
From then on, it was smooth sailing.
Yeah, so we've got a ton of viewers out here wanting to talk to the legendary Alex English. So our chat girl, Joni, is unfortunately in Maryland, taking care of her younger son. Sam just had knee surgery, so best out to Sam, hopefully for quick recovery. So we got Tony's going to ask some questions from our viewers. So let's go to question number 1 for our special guest, Alex English.
All right, Les. So John Irwin says, it seems like the point guard role has changed since you played. Who is the best point guard you played with and the best one you played against?
Good question, John.
Well, I have to say, my teammate Fat Lever was one of the best point guards. He was a triple double happening almost every night, and a great defender. I enjoyed playing with him. And as far as the best point guard, I say it was Magic Johnson. To be 6 feet 9 inches and handle the ball, run fast break, see the floor. He was just a great point guard. But as far as guards go, I think the era that I played in had some of the best guards that played in the NBA. A lot of them are the top 75, top 50. People like Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan, Kelly Tripucka, and the list just goes on and on.
Alex, you played in, I would say, the golden age of basketball. When Bird and Magic came into the league in '80 and the whole explosion happened, and you were right in the middle of that whole thing. A lot of people don't know about Lafayette Fat Lever, who played at Arizona State with Byron Scott a little bit. He was a tremendous player back in the day, and he doesn't get the credit. I think he had injuries that kind of curtailed his career. He didn't really have a super long career, I don't believe.
He did have injuries later in his career.
Yeah.
But he was still a triple double happening almost every night. We look at the game today, and you look at Westbrook, a point guard that was a triple double player. Mm-hmm. But Fat Lever was the beginning of that. You can't forget Oscar Robertson, but Fat Lever was that type of player, and he was a great defender as well. He was probably our team leader in steals, top in assists. But triple doubles, he started that during that modern day era.
Well, we have another question here, so we're gonna have Tony throw another question to our guest, Alex English.
All right, Alex. Thomas Calder wants to know, what do you think of load management with players such as Joel Embiid not playing the second game in a back-to-back contest?
Joel Embiid he's talking about. I know that. So, so what do you think about load management, Alex, today?
All I can say about that is you wouldn't see me doing that, because I love playing the game and I enjoyed getting out there every night. And during the era that I played, we would play 3 games in a row some weeks. In fact, 5 and 6 nights. We played 3 games and have 1 day off, and then we played 2 games in a row. And I loved it. I couldn't wait for the next game. I loved the game that much. Even I'd get a sprained ankle, and I'd be out maybe 3 days because I wanted to get back out there. For me, it was my my art. It was my way of expression, and I enjoyed playing.
Al, that's exactly what Byron Scott said. Byron said he doesn't believe in load management. You get paid to play. You play as hard as you can every night.
I tell you what, these guys echoing the same thing. Alex, let me ask you this. I mean, you obviously were a great scorer. Who's your toughest defender? Who D'd up on you pretty tough back in the day, but you still handle them now. But I know you're a great scorer. But who gave you the toughest fit in terms of defense?
There were a few guys. I think the biggest though was Dennis Rodman. Later in my career, Dennis Rodman, he was a guy that I could not get rid of. You know, he was like a plague. Once he got on you, he stayed there. But I would, you know, my game was outrunning my foe, you know, movement. And I couldn't get away from him. You know, I'd run and he'd be right there. I'd shoot a shot and he'd be trying to block it. So he was one of the biggest defenders, one of the toughest defenders. But there were other guys like Rodney McCray. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
Mark Ivoroni, he was a physical player. Kevin McHale was a tough defender because he was so long. But I would take him out on the wing and make him move his feet, and it was harder for him. But most teams would try and put a physical guy on me to beat me up because I was so small. I was 190 pounds. But I would move and move and move, and they'd have to catch me.
Well, I mean, that's what's great. When you look at the highlights of you, Alex, it's not really an ISO 101 type game. It's the movement without the ball. You catch the ball, you go into the hoop. You know, I mean, sure, you could dunk the ball, but you had that little floater in the lane. You know, you could spit it off the backboard. Yeah. I'm not going to say your game was exactly like Gervin, but you guys had some similarities in the way you went to the basket.
I think very similar. We were different, though. You know, the one thing that wasn't in the game when I played was a three-point shot. It came in later. So I would probably, I don't know if I would have been a great three-point shooter, but I would have probably tried to be.
Well, it definitely changed the game. I think it's the biggest rule adjustment in the NBA history is, you know, the advent of the three-point line. But we do have a question, I think. So,
yep.
We have another question for Alex. Tony, go ahead.
We have quite a few more questions.
Quite a few. Alex, you're very popular tonight. We've got a ton of questions here. So
Rob wants to know, how much do you think the modern game has changed?
That's a great question. Modern game.
Well, I think the biggest change is the three-point line. The three-point line can be a game maker. You know, if you've got good three-point shooters, and a lot of teams, I think they scheme to shoot more three-pointers. Because the three-pointer makes such a big difference when you in the score. That and the statistics, the statistical part, you know, maybe teams having all the stats on a player, whether they know if a guy spits, whether he's gonna make the shot or not. You know, they've got all kinds of stats. When I played, we just got a scouting report and said, hey, this guy is going left, he's going right, he's going to pull up and shoot a jump shot, and you got to get back on defense. And that was pretty much enough for us back then. We didn't have to do all the thinking. I mean, you learned that player that you had to guard, and you learned what that team was doing, and that was it. Nowadays, they can tell you if he goes left and pull up at the elbow, what's his percentage of making the shot, or whether you've got to block him out, or whether you can beat him down the court. They've got all kind of stats, and they've got 6 guys behind the bench just doing stats. When I played, they were like the head coach and the assistant coach and the trainer.
A lot simpler game back then, no doubt about it. Great question, Rob. Let's get another one out for Alex.
So Barry asks, 25,613 total points in the 80s. Amazing. Why didn't you get more playing time?
Why didn't I get more playing time? I got a lot of playing time. It was hard to get me off the court. I put in a lot of minutes, and it was hard to get me off the court. Doug Moe, every player has a role on his squad. and my role was to put the ball in the basket. And for my team to win, I had to produce every night. So that's what I did. That was my role.
Well, you guys ran too. I mean,
Al,
Al, the Nuggets were notorious for running. Doug Moe, old ABA coach, he'd love to run teams in the ground back in the day.
I always said that. Yeah, go ahead.
We would run them. I was just going to say that our offense was, as soon as the ball went through the net, one of our big guys was getting it out as quick as he could, and we were already running the wings. Mm-hmm. And that's what teams hated about us the most, was that they knew we were going to be running. They had to be ready to be prepared to run every night. And for us, it was just our game. We would run people to death. I think even in today's game of high scoring, the highest scoring game is still the game between us and the Detroit Pistons at 186 to 184.
That's incredible. That's even more than an all-star game. That's incredible.
Alex, yeah, I was going to say, man, going back to the way the game has changed, the big guy inside. I mean, the game seems to has gotten away from the big center. You got Wemby, who's 9 feet tall, shooting 3-pointers. I mean, what are your thoughts about that, and how the effect of the game, and how shooting the basketball, and I mean, they give up the baseline sometimes. I was always taught you don't give up the baseline, but I mean, I guess the game has evolved. Help me with that, Legend.
Well, the game has evolved, and the post-up guy, the Kareems, the Elmore Smiths, the Jack Sikmas, the Dave Cowens, those guys who made a living in the post, they would be their game would be outdated. You've got to be able to score a 3-point shot, and that's the way the game is played today. You see a lot of guys. I go to the practice here at my university, and the big guys are out practicing 3-point shots, and consistently. So everybody is got to be able to make a three. In the pick and roll. In the pick and roll, when I played, we would roll hard to the basket. Now your big guys pop into the 3-point line and shoot a three. So the game has changed in that sense, and it's probably a lot of fun for some people, but for me, I still enjoy the game between the 3-point line and the basket.
And I got to say, Alex, before we get another question, I think that people have fallen so much in love with the 3-pointer that, I mean, guys will come on a 3-on-1 break, and instead of making the pass and going inside for a layup or a dunk, they'll pull up and try for a 3-pointer. I mean, listen, I'm a Celtic fan, and we'll get into you playing with the Celtics, hint, hint, in a little bit, but I'm a Celtic fan, and they won a championship that way, but hoisting up 30 to 40 a game, if you're not on your game, you have no chance of winning the game. I mean, if you're going to be shooting 20% that night, you have no inside.
Well, if you've got 3-point shooters, I think we had a little break there. You want me to speak?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, say that again. Yep.
Okay, I was saying that nowadays they're taught, if you come down on the break and you're a good 3-point shooter, take that 3, because it's such a big boost in the score. So you see a lot of guys, like you see Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They come down and they shoot a 3 before they go to the basket if there's a man between them and the basket. But that's the way the NBA has evolved in today's game. It's more 3-point shots. But the one thing about the NBA that I like, it's gotten out of that Detroit Pistons play tough defense and then go back down the court and set your offense. Now it's more flow. Every team has got flow. They push the ball up. They cut, they run. Most of them stay at the 3-point line. They drive the baseline, and they're going to hit the man in the corner. And like you said earlier, we used to cut that baseline off. You would not be able to make that baseline pass because we would cut it off. Now they are able to make that baseline pass, that drive and kick, and they find the other guy either at the corner 3 or the elbow 3. So that's what they're looking for.
All right. Well, let's get another couple more questions here. Go ahead, Tony. Another question for AE.
Sure thing. Thomas wants to know, what was it like playing against Julius Erving?
Oh, the doctor.
Well, at first, I was in awe because he was one of my idols as a young player, and I got to watch. I played with Bob Dandridge, who was a great small forward in Milwaukee, and when I played with him, I sat on the pitch a lot, so I got to see him school Julius Erving and George McGinnis both in one night. So some of the awe was taken off of it. And when I got a chance to play against him, I said, hey, he's human just like I am, and all I've got to do is do what I do.
Good question. He's bringing back some. I love it, man. George McGinnis, Julius Erving. These guys are like old ABA guys. I love it.
Yep.
How about more questions, Tony?
Oh, we have questions.
Oh, Sixers.
The Sixers. I know. Who lost to Portland being up 2-0 in 76, right? Okay, go ahead.
All right, so here's an interesting one for Tech for Fun, but I'm going to kind of reword it a little bit.
Okay.
He asks, what's the worst part being tall? But I'm going to say, are there any disadvantages is what he might be asking. Because I know him personally, and he's kind of vertically challenged.
Okay, so I don't know. Are there any challenges to being tall, Alex? I don't know. I'm not.
Are there any challenges to being tall?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, getting in a car that's small. When I was in college, I had a girlfriend that had a Volkswagen. I didn't have a car. She had a Volkswagen Beetle. And she used to let me drive. It was a stick shift. But, I say if it's a challenge, you learn how to conquer that. You improvise and figure a way around it.
Al, you have any problems being, you're 6'2"?
Al?
Oh no, I don't have any problems. Every now and again, I have my back ache a little bit. I told you I got to warm up to put my clothes on, but you take a guy like Alex. We talk about basketball players. I always say the basketball players were probably the best athletes on the planet. Alex, my question to you is, how is your body holding up, man? I mean, you ran up and down that court for a long time, and at an elite level, and getting it done. I mean, and the versatility of the way you put the ball in the hoop, to me, is what made you a Hall of Famer. But how's your body holding up?
My body's holding up pretty good. I still have, I have a few aches and pains, like a backache every now and then. But I have, over the years, I try and get at least 3 or 4 days of workouts during the week, so I can keep the body fluid,
right,
and able to move.
Well, let's get a couple more questions in for Alex. We've got him, and I'm going to run a special clip of Alex as well and just talk about that quickly. So, Tony, maybe another couple more questions?
Sure. So Barry wants to know, you are a no-flash guard, just points. Is that what hurt you, considering who you were playing, who was around you then? Sorry about that.
I don't understand the question.
I don't either.
I don't understand the question.
Let's go to the next
to another question. Maybe, Alex, do you understand the question? I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
All right. So what?
I don't.
Okay. Thomas wants to know, what do you consider, or who do you consider the greatest basketball player? Besides yourself.
I want to know, Alex, I have this issue with everybody saying, like in football, Tom Brady's the GOAT. I go, how can you have the greatest of all time when the rules are different, the eras are different, the talent's different? The game's different. How can you have the greatest of all time? How can you have one?
You can't, because they're different eras. And during the era that players played, they were dominant and great, and it was a different story. But my favorite is not just one player. I would probably pick maybe 5 that I would put in the same category. And I would start with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay.
And then I would add Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. And then somewhere along the way, you've got to add, Larry Bird.
I want to ask you about Bird. I want to ask you about him, being a Celtic fan. And, it's funny. I've seen some videos on Larry. They have these compilations on him. And, the old adage is, well, he couldn't jump. He couldn't do this. But yet I see him dunking on Caldwell Jones. I see him making these in midair no-look passes. I don't know if he was as non-athletic as they say, but he was a tremendous ball player.
Yeah, he had a slow gin fizz kind of game.
I love it.
And he was just gutsy, and not arrogant, but was comfortable in his own skin when he played. And he just had a game that was just steady. He was going to make points. He was going to find you open on the break or in passing. And he had played decent defense, but he had the will to win, and he would do whatever he needed to do. So he was.
Well, let's go to.
He was one of my favorites.
Well, let's go to one. If you have one more, let's do one more question. Then I'm going to run the special reel that we have for Alex. So let's.
And I like him guarding me too.
Yeah, I bet you probably put up a lot of points on him.
All right. So John Irwin asks.
You guys still there?
Yeah. We're going to ask a question right now.
John wants to know, do you see any current players who remind you of yourself or your style of play?
Good question, John.
Do I see any players currently that remind me of myself?
Yes.
Body type, maybe. I think Kevin Durant kind of body type. The kid from the Hornets. I forget his name, but he was a guard that was drafted the second year.
Lorenzo Ball?
As far as basketball playing. What's that?
I think it was that one of the Ball kids with Charlotte.
From Charlotte?
Yeah. It's like Lorenzo Ball, I think, or one of those Balls. Yeah.
No, not Ball. Ball. He's there now from Alabama.
Oh, okay.
He's a wing player.
Okay.
About 6'8", 6'9". Yeah. But anyway, that body type, yes. Skill is, the beauty of the game of basketball is there are no two players that play the game the same way. And there's been thousands of players to play. And that's the art of the game, because every night you get to see something different. And you don't know what's going to – I was watching the Memphis Grizzlies the other night, and Ja Morant did something, or he did almost like a 360 layup, and I'm like, he's like Baryshnikov. But that's the game of basketball. There's no two players that play the same. They play similar. Like, for instance, Michael Jordan had a game that I liked, but I saw Kobe Bryant play the same type of game. And he played it. He was bigger than Michael, and he played it a different kind of way. So even though they had the same tenacity, they were very different. And that's how it's been throughout my career. Every now and then you see a player that you can say, he kind of reminds me of somebody. But nowadays, the players today are more wing players, three-point shooters. And, the guys that I played with were mid-range game and get to the basket kind of players.
Well, Alex, you had the bulk of your career with Denver, tremendous years. You won the NBA scoring title. You, like Al says, the object of the game is to put the ball in the hoop. You did it better than anybody in 1983. But you did suit up for my Boston Celtics one time. Now, for people who don't know about this man, Alex English, not only is an accomplished NBA Hall of Fame basketball player, but he can act. And he can act as you know what off, because he started a movie called Amazing Grace and Chuck, which I want to have Tony, if he can set it up quickly, run a clip on this. And I want everyone to check this out, because this is pretty amazing. So check this out, everybody.
There's this 12-year-old kid in Montana.
Can't play baseball, Dad.
I met him, and I don't think he should be alone. I am giving up basketball until there are no more nuclear weapons.
I'm your manager. You should have told me.
An athlete with the power of conviction. A young boy with the courage to be...
All right, Alex, You got to tell us the story. I mean, I saw this movie when it came out. I was interested in it. I'm like, Alex English is starring in a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, Gregory Peck, William Peterson, a host of other actors. So you got to let Al and I know, how did this whole thing even, like, did they approach you? I know you said you auditioned for it, but how did this whole process, how did it come about?
Well, I was with the Nuggets, and the call went out to the NBA Players Association that this guy was doing this movie, and he wanted to let NBA players know about it, and wanted them to audition if they wanted to try. And they would send the script out, and they sent the script to me and to other players as well. And when I read the script, I said, "This is me. This is my role." And I just felt like this movie was made for me, and I was made for the movie. So I got a chance to practice and work with Jamie Lee Curtis and Gregory Peck and William Peterson and all the stars that were in that movie. We were in Montana. We had a great time. It was summertime and it was beautiful. So shooting that movie was just a highlight of my life.
Alex, I wish you played with the Celtics. We could have done this. The number 2 up to this. After unfortunately, if anyone hasn't seen the movie, you got to check it out. The premise is really like, you look at it, you go, really? But based on today and what's going on in the world, you got to check out the movie.
That's right.
Because, Alex, I thought you did an amazing job. I mean, if I didn't know you were a basketball player, I would thought you were an actor playing a basketball player, not the other way around.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. The people that were around me, helped me, and the director, David Fields, he did a great job of coaching me. So it was a lot of fun. I got to hang out in Montana for anybody who hadn't been there.
Beautiful.
Big sky, beautiful Bozeman, Montana. Summertime was just awesome. So check it out.
I have to say, being a Celtic fan, Al, we had this legendary broadcaster named Johnny Most, who is unbelievable. And to hear him go, "Amazing Grace Smith for the number 2!" I mean, it was awesome. He was
in the movie.
I know, and I loved the whole thing when he was. I really did. I thought it was a great movie. And Gregory Peck plays the president of the United States. I mean, like I said, anybody out there who hasn't seen it, check it out. Amazing Grace and Chuck. You can find it on YouTube. I don't know where else you can find it. I watched it the other night just to recap it again, and I'm like, wow, really, really great movie. Really great job. Listen, we've had you for 33. Do we have any more questions before we go? I'm going to give someone 2 shots at Alex before. He's been so gracious hanging out with us. So let's do 2 more. Then I'm going to have Al give a final wrap up to Alex. So let's go. 2 more questions.
All right. So we have one from Benny the Book. He's texted to me, so I'm not going to put it up on the screen.
Benny, who you met earlier, our co-host coming on a football in a second, has got a question for Alex. Go ahead.
For some reason,
yes,
his questions aren't coming through the chat, so he texted to me.
Okay.
Benny wants to know, how long did it take you to get used to the altitude playing in Denver?
Ooh.
And is it really as big of an advantage as people say?
Good question, Benny.
It's a very good question. Very good question. And it once you get there and you start working out and you're practicing, you acclimate to the altitude. It took me, I once you get there and play, it's no problem, especially if you're in shape. And I think it's a big psychological advantage for the Denver Nuggets because players come in there and they're thinking, this is a mile high and the air is thin, and I need some oxygen, and so we just played on that. We would say, okay, they're dying over there, and we would just run them to death. I can remember Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson having a tank of oxygen behind the bench when the Houston Rockets would come to town. So it was the athletes are so fine tuned that once you up and down that court 3 or 4 times, you acclimate and your body adjusts. So it's not really a problem. You stop noticing it after a while.
Al, before we go with you to finish it off, I got to ask Alex my last question, which is, you're a Denver Nugget. You probably will be for life. You're known as a Nugget. You did all your best things in the NBA as a Nugget. Your opinion on Jokic?
On Jokic, I think he is the best player in the game right now. All around. He is he's kind of changed the way centers that position plays the game. And the things that he does on the basketball court, he sees the floor so well. He uses his body so well, and his footwork is just off the chart. And he's got so many weapons. He's got the little flip hook. He's got the 3-point shot, and his body is so big that when he backs you under the basket and puts you between him and the basket, it's kind of hard to block a shot unless you're Wembanyama.
I love the guy. I think he's the best player in the league as well. Al, go ahead. One last thing before we let Mr. English go.
Alex, let me ask you a two-part question here. Looking back, knowing what you know, is it anything you would have done different back in the day? I mean, would you have made a left turn instead of a right turn anytime during your career, college career? And then part B to that question is, what advice do you have for the young ballers coming up now, and your thoughts on NIL and the portal? I know that's a lot, so I can come back to it if you need me to.
As far as what would I do differently, I think the plan was laid out. God laid the plan out right, and I had to follow it, and I was grateful for that, because some of the things that happened along the way, I could have been out of the game, and I was blessed to be able to play it, and to play it the way I did play it, and be injury free for most of my career, and to be a kid from South Carolina, 190 pounds in that type of physical game, I was just blessed to be safe, be able to play it. With NIL, if I was around with NIL today, I would just enjoy it. It would be, it's a great opportunity for kids to get a great start in life. And all of them aren't going to make it in the NBA. So if there is an NIL deal available to them, I think that's great. I just hope it doesn't break the system, because everybody can't get paid. So you're going to have disgruntled people. You're going to have people moving all around. I wish they would change the system so that players would have to stay. Once they sign with the team, they have to be there at least 2 years. And I liked whenever it was that you could go, when you transferred, you'd have to sit out. But being that that's not feasible now, you have to go to a team. You have to be there at least 2 years before you can go out to NIL field.
Let's make Alex the commissioner of the NCAA right now, Al. I like that answer.
I tell you, it's diplomatic and on point. Legend, we really appreciate your time, man. I tell you what, wish you all nothing but the best, man, and go Gamecocks.
Thank you. We're getting ready to put a whipping on Missouri this weekend.
Ooh. All right. We'll be checking that out, Alex. Again, thank you so very much for joining Sports Talk and Sports. I will be checking it out.
We got the best defense in college football.
Well, I'm telling you right now, he's got those guys playing. Beamer's got him playing the new Beamer ball. And they could they could finish 9-3, so watch out for the Gamecocks. Alex, thanks so much. And listen, everyone out there, stay tuned, because you're not going to want to miss this. We are talking college football. We'll be talking about Alex's Gamecocks. The book and I are going at it. It's going to be brutal. Al's going to set it up, and we're going to knock him down. We're going to do it right after this.
Want to change the way you play, you must change the way you train. Start training, join the revolution.
Welcome back to Swartz Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz, the man on my right. number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, and recent inductee into the Bob Hayes Track and Field Hall of Fame. We are so proud, Al the Rattler Chester.
It doesn't happen until March now. It's next year, but
it's gonna happen. That's all that matters. We might have to take. We might have to make that caravan down to Florida to check that out ourselves. So don't be shocked if we surprise you.
You got to tip your head to Greg Coleman. He's the CEO for that whole deal, man. He was our guest just a couple of weeks ago.
Now, thank you, Greg, for doing the right thing and getting that guy in the middle there, down there. Great question, Benny, by the way. The Mile High Attitude with Alex English. It was great. Now it's college football. I hope people are still tuned in because we had a passionate discussion before we went live, okay? And before we do the Rattler recap and we do the HBCU game of the week, you and I are going to go at it, okay? We're going to go at it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
Notre
about
Dame,
who is
Notre Dame, number 3 in the nation.
Yeah, Notre Dame, number 3 in the nation. Okay, anybody that thinks Notre Dame's number 3 in the nation, I want them to put up a chat right now. I want you to tell me why. The team beats Texas A&M in the first game with Connor Wigman at quarterback, who, by the way, is looking to transfer out of Aggie land, okay? He's got beat out, so he's leaving. Then they lay an egg against the Northern Illinois Huskies. Sorry, Northern Illinois, Benny, not even in the top. They're not even in the top 6 of the MAC, okay? You're going to tell me Notre Dame deserves that? Come on, Ben. You know better than that.
Come on. They beat the hell out of Georgia Tech.
Without Haynes King.
They beat Navy, undefeated at the time. Come on.
And then Navy goes and loses to Rice the week after. Really? That was a great win?
Your LSU Tigers are really showing their true colors, too, now.
Listen, they can't stop a running quarterback, okay? There's a major issue.
I should have listened to you at the beginning of the year. You said they were going to stink, and I thought they were good then all of a sudden.
Al, did I tell you at the beginning of the year LSU was not going to be a playoff team?
Right,
did I say it?
You said that. Yes.
You did say that. I tell you what. But, anything can happen on any day, any given day. And we've seen that this season. I mean, we're week 11, I believe it is right now, and we've had some great football. And still is a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah,
the best is yet to come.
Every week's like a playoff game, man.
Wait, I can't read that comment. You just flipped it up on the screen. I can't read it, but
it says Notre Dame in the top 3 because they're Irish.
Oh, that's probably the best reason they would be up there. But hey, listen, let's have Tony throw up my top 12. This would be the playoff rankings. Like if it ended today, who I think would be in based on who's going to, win the conferences. So I got Oregon. Listen, they could lose but I got them winning. I got the Longhorns winning the SEC. I got BYU Cougars, although watch out for the Colorado Buffaloes. They scare me. SMU, I got now. Hey, listen, they're leading the ACC, so they would be in. And then you got Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, who hasn't played anybody. I know it's a great story, guys. They're undefeated. Signetti's done an amazing job. They haven't played anybody, guys. They have.
Listen. How could you leave Ole Miss out of that? You just told me the other day.
They lost to LSU.
But you saw that they have like such a great defense. You're telling me how good their defense was the other day.
It was great the other day, but they gave up 40+ against LSU.
A lot of teams got 2 losses.
They lost to Kentucky.
Yeah, so what?
So what?
Kentucky's in SEC.
3-6.
Alabama lost to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's got a winning record, Benny.
Yeah. Come on. You got BYU, you got SMU ahead of Ole Miss. Come on.
Yeah, I don't even
have
Ole Miss in there. Are you kidding me? Listen, I got him in the I got teams to watch. They're in the teams to watch.
You're bragging on Colorado. You don't have them in there.
No, they got 2. Listen, they lost to Nebraska. We could open up that whole thing. And
but they can make their way all the way to the game. They win, they're in.
Now we got
the championship game.
We have Notre Dame fans out there, and I have to explain my bias as to why I can't stand the Fighting Irish. Can't stand them. Hate them. Okay, sorry.
Because you didn't like the Irish neighborhood in Boston.
No, I got nothing to do with it. I love Irish people. I love.
You didn't like Whitey Bulger?
St. Patrick's Day. No, listen. In 1970, it was either 71 or 72. I was a little kid. They're playing Army. They're playing West Point. Yeah. These kids are playing their last game, and they're going off to war. They're playing the Vietnam War. What's his name? Ara Parseghian, the little midget there, goes and runs it up on these guys, 70-something to nothing against Army. What did he have to prove? And then, hold on, a decade later, they're playing Jerry Faust's last game against Miami. Jimmy Johnson's up 58, and Ara Parseghian's on TV crying that it shouldn't be right. He's running it up. I'm like, hey, Ara, roll that thing back about 10 years, and what did you do to Army to embarrass them? Come on, Benny.
First of all teams in the college football run the score up.
So what's
years
Parseghian's
ago.
problem then? He did it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because you know something, he's a clown. Just like Holtz is a clown.
yeah. Okay.
They all were clowns. Dan Devine, clown, all clowns.
You gotta think
Al,
about
come on, Al,
Irish.
jump in here. Help me
You
out a
gotta
little
think
bit.
about
Al.
Irish
man.
people.
You got to keep the foot on the gas, baby. I tell you what, the
Jeez.
game is played in 4 quarters. Anything can happen. You light it up so they can write it up.
But guys,
Give it to them.
But guys, can I ask you a question seriously? Listen, I think Indiana is a great story. They're undefeated. They get their chance in 2 weeks to play Ohio State. I think they're going to Columbus, right? But let's face it, the Big Ten, they've got 3 or 4 really good teams. But Michigan, the defending national champs, can't score. They have no quarterback.
They lost everybody.
Yeah.
Les.
Nebraska
they lost their coach. They lost everybody.
I know, but I'm just saying, Nebraska was supposed to be this upcoming team. They laid it on Colorado, and then all of a sudden, Rayola's gone south. The team's done nothing. Penn State, I love James Franklin, but he wins 10 games, and every time he plays someone in the top 10, he loses every year.
Yeah.
Did it again this year, right?
What, you got like a 1-39 record or something like that?
It's like 1 in 12 or something, right? Against
it's-
top 15 or top 10 opposition, right? So all I'm saying is if Indiana takes care of Ohio State, I'm all in on them. But right now, guys, I got them ranked 7, no doubt about it. But if
they have to be like Al said earlier. They beat everybody that they had to beat. That's who was put in front of them. That's all you could do.
I get it. I totally get it. But I'm just asking the question. Al, let me ask you this. If they finish 11-1 and lose to Ohio State, and say it's not even close, say they lose by double digits, which could happen, and do you think they got a shot at 11-1 over a 2-loss SEC team based on the competition of the leagues?
Oh, no.
I mean, you got the SEC has been known to be the best conference in college football. But now there's a lot of parity now because of the portal.
Right.
But I agree. I think what Bennett said and what we talked about earlier, when you got an undefeated team, a team that with 1 loss, let's say they lose 1 game, they still had a tremendous year. They should be in the 12, obviously. And anything can happen. It's a new season once the playoffs start. But anything can happen on any given day.
Anybody out there right now, if that's a college football fan, does Indiana with 1 loss deserve to make the playoffs? I just want to know from our viewers out there, subscribers, do they make the playoffs? I just want to know.
There's a choice between Indiana going 11-1 and Boise State going
Boise gets 11-1.
Who was it? Indiana, you asked? Nah.
But yeah.
No.
They've been undefeated. I mean, the bulk of the season they've been undefeated.
I get it.
Yes.
But, I mean, if they slip and they lose by a point or 2, they still should be in. They're still one of the better teams in the country.
They're going to lose. When they play, if they're undefeated, what's Ohio State's number 2 now?
Correct.
And they're in the top 5. They're not going to drop 8 spots.
What if they get
losing
blown
1
out?
game?
What if they get blown out?
They're not going to get blown out, but
I'm telling you right now,
they're not going to get blown out.
I would rather watch Ashton Jeanty and Boise.
Their defense is. Oh, you got to think about. What, are you in love with that guy?
No, I'm not in love with him. He's the best.
I watched
him
the other night. I mean, I know he ended up having 202 yards.
Yeah,
but
Benny, Al, they're putting 9 guys on the line against this guy.
Nah,
they're run blitzing.
stop
Throw the
it,
football.
guys.
If they put 8 in the box, you got to throw the football.
Yeah.
But now the game to watch, guys. Switching gears, watch Georgia and Tennessee.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the game everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
And who do you guys
I think
like
that's going to be. Go ahead, Benny.
Oh no,
he's going to pick it later. Al, you tell me.
Well, I tell you what, Georgia's defense has always been strong. Their offense is pitiful. But I think that if the young gun quarterback at Tennessee can have a good day, it's been a minute since he's had a great day. If he can have a great day, Tennessee could beat Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think at this point in the season, I'm hoping that he'll have a great day. Georgia's offense is just sputtered, man. The quarterback has thrown 9 interceptions in the last 3 games. And you know, defense wins championship, offense sell tickets. But if you keep the defense on the field all day, they eventually going to wear down. So I like Tennessee. I think they're playing in Knoxville, aren't they?
They are.
No, they're playing in.
No, it's in Athens. It's in Athens.
They're playing that.
Yeah,
they're playing in Georgia. You got to lean toward Georgia, but I still like Tennessee. If the young gun quarterback can have a great day, watch out.
But
sometimes.
But Benny, when the way the SEC is going right now, right, and they're, Georgia's installed as you said an 11.5-point favorite, right? With the way this thing's going, would it shock you if Georgia beat them by 3 touchdowns?
Yes, it would because of the defense. Because I don't see Georgia's offense scoring 30 points against Tennessee's defense. So if a menace to Georgia's defense is a running quarterback, Milroe.
Yeah. But
we ran all over the
Alieva
place
really
when they
isn't running
played.
a lot though lately. He's staying in the
Well,
pocket.
I know I think they're a little too bomb happy. They like throwing a long bomb. They got those burners on the outside. They want to go over the top of the defense.
Go
They don't
Vols, baby. Go Vols. Go Vols.
Yeah.
Hey, let's throw up the Heisman thing real quick, Tony. I think we've stuck with these 4 players for the last three weeks. Tony.
Oh, I just said Joni.
No, see, J is Joni, T is Tony. Get your ears cleaned out, will you? All right. So listen, guys. Right now, Al, you said to me earlier, who would you pick for the Heisman? And I said, I think there's 4 guys in here right now that have pretty much entrenched themselves. If I'm thinking about who the best player is, some guys, I know the hype's there, but Travis Hunter is doing it both ways for Colorado in a team that's now 8-2 and has a realistic chance of playing for a Big 12 championship and a spot in the playoffs. Without him, he's their best receiver. He's got I think, double-digit touchdowns. He's averaging close to 100 yards a game, and he's their best defensive player as a corner, taking the other team's best player. So he affects the games at both levels, at a high level. It's not like he's a defensive end and a tight end or something. This guy's playing it at that high level. I love what Dylan Gabriel's done at Oregon, no doubt about it. I mean, the guy's won wherever he's been. It's Central Florida, Oklahoma, now at Oregon, right? Cam Ward putting up tremendous numbers, but that loss is going to hurt. He fumbled near the end of the game.
Fumbled the ball. He fumbled the game away.
Yeah, he did.
Fumbled the game away.
And who's
Al,
the other guy?
I hate to agree with him because usually when I agree with him, I'm wrong. But I told you at the beginning of the year, I think I said this, that as long as Colorado wins, he's the best college football player, no doubt about it. Guy plays almost every play.
Yep.
He's vital on offense. He's vital on defense.
Exactly.
I mean,
you're making my point.
But I didn't think Colorado was going to win as many games as they did, so that's why I didn't think he was going to win it.
Hey, listen, there's news leaking out right now, and we talked about this guy too earlier. You brought up Paul Feinbaum, right? And I know he's like gospel in the South, the SEC. What made him such a freaking expert? The guy's a pipe cleaner with arms. Did he play any football in his life? Did he play grade school? What makes him such an expert?
I'm gonna give you a little analogy.
Yeah.
Guys that are great golf coaches aren't necessarily great golfers. They just know how to teach what to do.
I'm asking you.
You don't have to be a great golfer to be a great
and he's a great
instructor.
reporter. I'm asking you though, what makes him this guru of college football? Because he sucked up to Alabama and Nick Saban for the last 15 years. What makes him a guru?
He probably watches 1,000 times more film as you or anybody else, or he's talking to people. He's with everybody.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to ask the question. I like listening to him.
Let me say this about Travis.
Yeah.
Travis, I agree, is probably the best football player in the country. He has been getting more media hype than anybody. It started last year, but his hype is not going to be his stats. He's going to catch some touchdowns. He's going to get some interceptions, but they're not going to be over the top. What's going to be interesting about him is if Colorado has 90 plays that they run, he's a part of 89 of them. And that's going to be the stat. Plus, when he plays, he makes an impact.
Yeah.
But then when you look at Genty, the running back, I mean, he could break Barry Sanders' all-time single-season record. You got Dylan Gabriel, who, if they run the table, could be an undefeated quarterback. And you got Cam Ward, who obviously is one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the country. So, I mean, it could go down to the wire. But I'm like what Bennett said. I think that if you did it based on the best player, Travis is that guy. Colorado's got to win, but don't look for him to have 15 touchdown passes or 10 interceptions. It's going to be the number of snaps that he plays on offense and defense that's going to light it up. And then he's going to get all the media hype, and then he's got the number one broker in the country with his head football coach and Deion Sanders.
You said it right.
Yeah,
Al.
I mean that's what's going to win it for him.
Yeah. Benny, you're a betting guy, right? Because you're the wagering guy. What are the odds that Travis Hunter ends up in an Aflac commercial before the end of the year? What are the odds?
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah. might be pretty good.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, he's going to end up in an Aflac commercial with Shedeur
like Al
Sanders.
said, he's got the best promoter in the guy can promote him the way he promoted himself. He can promote anybody.
He does. All right. Well, listen, guys, we can talk. I mean, listen, I agree 100% with what Al said earlier, though. He did say, there's a lot of football. We still got 3 or 4 weeks left. It's gonna clear itself out as we move forward. Whoever wins this Tennessee Georgia game. Listen, guys, if Georgia loses, they could be out. 3 losses. They could really be out of this thing when they were ranked second in the country 2 weeks ago. Texas has got a tough game at the end of the year. They got A&M. It's back to that rivalry. It's a massive rivalry. A&M's got a good defense. Listen, Texas has looked great. I think they're the best team in football. If you're looking at the eye test, what I've seen, talent, roster, they got 2 quarterbacks that can do it. I really think the Longhorns are the best football team. If you're asking my opinion, I think they're the best football team.
Okay.
Well, they've got a good football team, no doubt. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, they do have a good football team. I would say they're in the top 3, definitely.
All right. Well, let's go to the Rattler recap. Let's find out what happened. Al, what happened last week? I was listening to a little bit of it. I was like, Al's not a happy guy. What went wrong?
Man, I tell you what, we went out there, man, and like a heavyweight bout, man. We got busted in the mouth early and was trying to recover. During that recovery period, our quarterback got a concussion. But my hat's off to a fine football team. We lost 31-12 to those guys, man. But I tell you what, we tried to find a way to come back, and we just couldn't get out of our own way. We overthrew some passes, missed some tackles, but they were fired up. Every time you play Florida A&M, the guys bring their A game, and we end up taking it in the shorts. And it was a tough loss, man. I mean, we had a good time. Getting out there, had great meals right there because we stayed in Houston, drove up to Prairie View. They've got one of the best facilities, I tell you what, in Black College, man. And Bubba McDowell, he had his guys ready to go, man. And they gave us the business, and that's all you can say. We got to find a way to reload now. We got to go. We play at home here against Mississippi Valley this coming Saturday, so looking forward to a rebound and another victory for the Rattlers.
HBCU game of the week.
Last week, it was Edward Waters University. The Tigers playing Allen University. It was Edward Waters' homecoming. Edward Waters hadn't won as many games as Allen, but Edward Waters did win their homecoming, 33-28. So I kind of picked that one right. This week, we got the Howard Bisons and the North Carolina Central Eagles playing. This is going to be a big game in the MEAC because the Bisons are coming off a loss to South Carolina State, 38-14, and the North Carolina Central came off a loss to the same team, 31-21 back in October, the end of October. Head coaches at Howard, Larry Scott, they're 1-2 in conference play, 4-6 overall. Head coach at Central, Trey Oliver, he's got an array of players there, always had a great football team. They're 2-1 in conference play, 6-3 overall. That game's going to be on ESPNU on television. That's Friday night on the 15th, not Saturday, but Friday. Okay. I'm leaning toward Central to get this one. It's going to be a nail biter, but I think Central's going to win this.
That's a match in the MEAC. So, now listen, this week, I hope you guys take care of business to get them dealt the Devils. Best of luck.
Rattlers.
We'll be listening as always. We'll be listening. Again, thanks so much for being part of that great interview with Alex English. It's always great to talk to a guy who's, I mean, you could tell he's class, but man, on the basketball court, he was one of the smoothest players I'd ever seen. He was like, he scored how many? 31, 28? He was the silent assassin.
Hey, Les, what are we doing?
Quiet assassin.
What are we doing hanging around with all these Hall of Famers?
I don't know.
Got Al Hall of Fame. Everybody's a Hall of Famer that you bring on.
We are, let's just say we are in really good company, that's for sure. So, Al, listen, best of luck this week. We'll see you. We'll be listening on Saturday. I'm going to be back with the book. Guys. Let's get the book's picks. Let's see what he comes up with this week. We'll do it after this.
Locals Tavern, Leland, North Carolina's favorite neighborhood bar, just south of the bridge where everyone truly does know your name, offers a variety of cold brews, wine, and specialty cocktails, and offers something for everyone on their food menu. With daily lunch specials and live evening entertainment, Locals is a hot spot you won't want to miss, where you can unwind in a casual atmosphere with friends, both old and new.
Welcome back to Sports Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Schwartz. The man to my right is Benny the Bookster Millie.
Yeah.
All right, Book. Okay, we got into it a little bit. I'm getting text messages right now. They love this. They love this battling back and forth, even though they're Notre Dame fans. And by the way, Tony threw up a quick poll. 83% of our viewers say Indiana should be in the playoffs if they finish 11-1.
Okay.
All right, the viewers have spoken. The host is lost. I'll take my beating like a man.
Yep. Because just the way they consider the Big Ten, better than Boise, but behind the SEC.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, Ben. What if they lose 2 out of their last 3? They're out.
Oh, they're out.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you. All right, so let's go to your college picks real quick.
Hopefully, I do better than I did last week. But
yeah, me too. You don't want to bring the show down, Benny. You're the book.
All right, in college football, let's get these picks out right away here. First game I'm going to take is the Memphis versus UAB, laying 14 at home. UAB not too good. Memphis looking at a nice year. I think they're 7-2.
7-2, but they had a shot and then they go blow it a couple weeks ago. And
but they're at home. They'll blow this team out. So I like Memphis Tigers in this.
Well,
game.
you know, coaches UAB, don't you? Dilfer, and he's on his way out. So
yeah. So second game.
Ooh, biggie.
I don't like this because the line has when I picked the game, it was +10. It's all the way up to 11.5 already. We talked about it already. I'm going to take Tennessee.
All right.
Plus the 10 against Georgia. I don't know if Tennessee's going to win the game. But I think it's going to be a defensive battle and a very, very low scoring game. And 10 points is quite a bit.
Listen,
so I'll take Tennessee.
Benny, if Ayamalieva, I got that pretty good, right? Ayamalieva. If he plays well in error-free football, Tennessee's got a real good shot. What scares me about Georgia is all of a sudden, what is going on with Carson Beck? He's a complete turnover machine. I don't know. Mm-hmm. He's missing receivers all over the place. He's fumbling the ball. He can't run. He can't read. What has happened to this guy?
And he's going to face a very, very, very good defense.
All right.
Very good defense.
So you like Tennessee getting the 10. Okay, what do we got number 3?
I got, again, you're not going to like my last few
I don't like
games.
this pick.
I got Utah +10. I think that lines up about to 11.5 or 12 against Colorado. It could be a tough one. You may be right about this one, but I'm just not a Colorado believer. I mean, Utah, somehow their defense is good. Maybe they can control the ball.
They have no quarterback. They're down to their 3rd-string quarterback. I know they sat Isaac Wilson last week. They brought on the 3rd-string quarterback, and they almost pulled it off against BYU.
Yeah.
Questionable call at the end of that game.
Questionable calls. Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was.
Defensive holding.
It definitely didn't look like it. Definitely didn't look like they were going to lose. I mean, that place was rocking. The defense, they had them. Penalty.
Benny, it's the holy war. Anything can happen, right? And Colorado got by Texas Tech, which might have been their toughest game remaining in Lubbock. And I got to tell you, a couple questionable calls in that game.
Talk about bad calls in that game, because I had Texas Tech, and there were several bad calls.
Yeah, questionable in that game, no doubt about it. I think the Big 12 wants Colorado in. They want Dion and Aflac.
Everybody loves Dion.
All right, let's go.
All right,
let's
next
keep going.
game.
Go. Let's get going.
Next game, I'm going to pick Liberty, laying 14
UMass.
against. They're playing UMass. Did they play football?
They're just
a basketball school.
Well, they play. There's 11 guys on the field. I don't know what they play football, but yeah.
We're gonna take Liberty laying 14 at home against UMass.
The Flames. You like the Flames?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the Flames. And my last game, another one you're not gonna like. San Jose State is playing at home, getting 13.5 against Boise State. Team is 6-3. I think, like you said, teams have figured it out. Let's load the box. If we get beat by the passer, we get beat by the passer. So San Jose State plus 13.5 at home against Boise State.
I'm thinking about this game, Benny, and it's not a bad pick. You want to know why? San Jose State's got a wide receiver, and I had him to my time. Someone out there let me know. He's one of the leading receivers in the country. And I have a funny feeling they're going to keep it close. I think Boise State wins it by maybe a touchdown and 10. But I think that they keep it close. And I think Genty breaks out in the second half again. They'll figure out a way to get him loose on a couple of long runs. They'll bottle him up. It's the Barry Sanders thing. minus 80 yards. That's kind of the way they did with Barry Sanders.
He does remind you of Barry Sanders.
He does, very much so. So, all right, let's go to the NFL where we finished a 1-3 last week.
Very, very bad. Man, I'm getting close to 500, boy.
All right.
I had a
4-0 this week, Benny. 4-0.
This NFL is really tough. I got to tell you. The Rams, they laid an egg. They were starting to play hot. They got all their receivers back, and Miami really dominated them.
Yeah.
Their defense played great. Calais Campbell, the guy's 38 years old.
I know.
He played like he was like 20 years old. He was all over the field. But
all right,
for this week,
let's go your first one.
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Don't like the game. Go ahead.
First, Kansas City. Well, they were about to lose last week. Kansas City's played in a lot of close games. Allen's at the top of his game. Andy Reid even said it. He goes, he's not doing those crazy plays. He knows that if he keeps the ball and protects the ball, Buffalo has a really good shot at winning every game.
Okay.
So, he knows that he's got to make plays, but he's not making those crazy plays.
You're taking Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Okay.
For my second game, I'm taking the New England Patriots plus the 5 versus the LA Rams. This is a game.
Hold on. Joni just said good night to me, sweetheart. I have to say good night, honey. Okay. Love you.
Good night. This is a game where last week I had the Bears against the Patriots and they beat me, and I had the Rams against Miami and they beat me. So this is a tough one, but I'll take the Patriots plus the 5.
9 sacks against the Bears last week. I think that's more than they've got all year combined. That's incredible. Okay, next up.
All right, Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 3.5 against the Ravens. I think this is going to be a barn burner. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win, but I'll take those 3.5. That hook is very important. That hook.
Well, I got to tell you.
Very important.
Finally, George Pickens broke out last week, a couple of huge catches, and it looks like the offense is really revving under Russell Wilson as far as the passing game goes. I think Tomlin made the right decision in sitting Fields, letting Wilson play. And you're right. Pittsburgh's got a good defense, so they can contain Jackson. We'll see what happens.
But, that quarterback on the other side's having an MVP season.
Oh, no doubt. Lamar Jackson is the MVP right now.
I was watching on TV the other day, and Rodgers was talking about him. He goes, the guy was the most spectacular football player when he came into the league. Now he's spectacular from in the pocket.
Yeah.
Like he's still the most athletic guy, but he's learned to play from the pocket. And that's what people always said. He can't do it, but he has.
But you like the Steelers. Okay, last game.
Okay, and the last game is Green Bay minus 6.5 for Chicago. I just looked on the thing. This line is down to 5 for some reason.
They just fired Shane Waldron, the OC.
That's not a good thing. The Bears, they look terrible the last week.
Yeah.
I'll take Green Bay as long as everybody's healthy, I hope. So we'll see how we do this week.
So you like Buffalo, the Pats, the Steelers, and the Packers. And by the way, Benny, we got a special invitation. We got one of our viewers out there, my boy Donnie down in Bayou Country. He's invited Benny and I. He wants the book. He said, I want the book. The book's got to come to Louisiana for a game next week. So, Donnie,
we will make it down
either
there.
South Carolina or Texas A&M. So the TBAs to be announced. Let us know when the game is. We'll make it happen. The book and yours truly will be in Baton Rouge Tiger Stadium in 2025. Right?
Can't wait to meet you, Donnie.
All right. We're going to have a good time with that. Anyways, listen, great show tonight. Thanks to all of my viewers for the questions. Hey, man, we're moving up the chain. We're getting close to that 1,000. Let's break it. A very special guest. I fumbled a bunch of stuff today. I can't believe it. A very special thanks to our guest, Alex English, a tremendous basketball player, tremendous person, and a really good actor. So check out that movie. For Al Chester, from my amazing chat girl, Joni, who's in Maryland. Love you, babe. For my producer, Tony the Tiger Smarley, Benny the Book, this is Les Schwartz. We'll see you next Wednesday. Back to 8 o'clock. Special guest, Kellen Winslow Sr., one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history. So check it out next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Have a great week, everybody.